Fauci should be prosecuted. They're working against us. China met with Bill Gates. Chinese President Xi Jinping has met with billionaire Bill Gates, calling him an old friend. Does this sound like good news for both countries? I mean, I'm as surprised as most of you guys are, because I wasn't even aware that these two had such a great relationship. The United States, though, continues to make enemies as both Cuba and Iran presidents have met to talk about how they can face what they call Yankee imperialism. Have you heard of Yankee imperialism? Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says that he's doing the best that he can to be careful that the CIA doesn't have him in their crosshairs, because he says that Big Pharma should be held accountable for whatever harm that they have done to the American people, them and Dr. Anthony Fauci. Do you agree with him? Just comment a quick yes or no on that one. The Biden administration plans to end DNA testing at the borders, which begs the question, will child trafficking now shoot up due to this? Like, they can just say that the kids that they're with are theirs. Like, what's stopping them from doing this? And on the topic of the president, he recently ended one of his speeches with one of the weirdest sign-offs I've ever seen. You guys got to see it to believe it. No time like the present, guys. Let's get right into the facts. Also, if you own a home, make sure your home is protected. Get your free home warranty quote. There's a link down below in this video. We've seen some very questionable decisions made for our borders, but I think this newest one, it really takes the cake, as the Biden administration has now plans on ending the rapid DNA testing program, which makes sure that migrant families are actually related. Yes, this is a new Biden administration move that they're making here.
Meanwhile, a report says the Biden administration plans to end familial DNA testing at the border. The aims of such tests are to prevent fraudulent parental claims. According to a memo obtained by Just the News over the weekend, Customs and Border Protection will stop the DNA testing once the contract with its vendor expires at the end of the month. The CBP memo says the FBI will still be handling forensic DNA collection, which is separate from the CBP program.
Former acting commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, Mark Morgan, he made it very clear as to why this would be a bad decision. According to him, quote, the Flores settlement agreement, which I think is the worst lower court judicial decision ever made, said that if you come to our borders as a family, we cannot detain you through the entirety of your asylum process. This began what we have popularly been coined a phrase, catch and release, meaning if you came to the border as a family, then that was your automatic passport into the United States. It didn't take long for the migrants and the cartels to realize that and exploit what we saw on the Trump administration, that fake families were actually being formed, meaning kids, minors were actually brought and sold and rented to form fake families because, again, it was their automatic passport into the United States. End quote. The DNA program prevented these cartels from doing this sort of quick way to get into the country and even saved these kids from being trafficked. Morgan adds that it makes no sense to remove this tool as it's effective against this crime against children, and he's basically as baffled as I am as to why it needs to be taken away. What do you guys think is the reasoning behind this? Now, on the topic of weird things, I need to show you a quick clip of the president's sign-off during a recent speaking engagement. Check this out.
All right. God save the Queen, man.
Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, he was delivering a speech at the National Safer Community Summit, so I don't get the reference to what he said. Can any of you guys figure out why he might have said that? Now, since we're asking questions, let me ask you guys another. Why is Bill Gates in China? Like, I understand that he can do whatever he wants since he's filthy rich and he's a billionaire and yada, 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 but I just didn't know that he and Xi Jinping were best buddies. But hey, it may help our relations with them since Xi and President Biden aren't necessarily on speaking terms. But here's what Xi said about the meeting. Quote, I often say the foundation of US-China relation lies in its people. I place my hopes on the American people. With the current global situation, we can carry out various activities beneficial to our two countries and people, activities that benefit humanity as a whole. End quote. Well, that sounds good, doesn't it? Will this lead to a better working relationship with China? Or is Bill Gates there mainly for his own personal agenda? Maybe he's on spring break with his family. You guys tell me. We're already in China, right? Let's talk about how facts have come out to show that Dr. Anthony Fauci, through the NIH-funded gain-of-function research in China, and if the virus did come out from a lab, what should then happen to him? To be frank, what should happen to anyone who may have had his hand in this? Now, if you ask Robert F. Kennedy Jr., this is what he would say.
I'm going to have to look at that, but I think they should be prosecuted. I think it was reckless endangerment. They knew, all of these labs, including the Wuhan lab, had a history of leaks. There were numerous memos from the State Department and others saying that the lab was dangerous. It wasn't even a BSL-4 lab that they were doing this research in. It was a BSL-2, BSL-3 labs that have very, very low thresholds and and this kind of research is malpractice.
If it's proven that the C-19 virus was made in a lab, oh boy, I don't know what's going to happen to people like Fauci. Now, RFK was in a recent podcast with Joe Rogan where he admitted that he may be stepping on a few toes with his many appearances and statements that he's made. He told Joe Rogan that if he is voted in as president, he fears that he may also be assassinated by the CIA. According to Kennedy, quote, "I gotta be careful. I'm aware of that, I'm aware of that danger. I don't live in fear of it at all, but I'm not stupid about it. I take precautions," end quote. Many Democratic voters have said that President Biden should face RFK in a debate, although the DNC has already said that they won't hold any primary debates for the two to take part in. Well, it's not like our current administration has nothing to think about, right? I mean, look at this. Quote, "Cuba and Iran presidents meet in Havana, vow to confront Yankee imperialism," end quote. Quite the headline, huh? Cuba and Iran have been affected by sanctions from the United States, and they say that they're going to be working together to get rid of these problems, which only makes their resolve and relationship that much stronger. It always creates a very synergistic relationship when you have a common enemy.
All is not okay in the backyard of the United States. Just 160 kilometers away from the Florida coast is Cuba, and something is brewing there. On Thursday, the Iranian president with his Cuban counterpart both met and are scheduled to bolster ties. From biotechnology to telecommunications, almost nothing is off the table. This visit is in a series of initiatives taken up by Cuba. Havana is making deliberate attempts to reach out to distant but critical allies. Before this, they were with Russia and China, two countries that have emerged as a direct threat to the United States, either geopolitically or in trade.
White House national spokesperson John Kirby, he was asked about it and he was pretty much answered that they don't even care. So here's what he said, quote, "We don't ask countries in this hemisphere or any other to choose who they're going to associate with or who they're going to talk to or who they're going to allow to visit. That's for them to speak to. We're focused on our own national security interest in the region," end quote. Okay, I feel like they just don't care. But what do you guys think? Is this something that the White House should focus on? Because I'm pretty sure we don't need even more enemies, do we? Or is this just nothing to write home about? Make sure to share your thoughts in the comment section down below. Now, if you want to hear about something exceptional, it would be the current state of our expenses. Like how much you guys spending every single week nowadays? Are you using cash or are more of you forced to swipe your credit cards? I guess households across the country aren't doing as well as we used to. However, I can't close this thing out without letting you in on a few opportunities. Were you guys aware that there are plenty of people who generate multiple streams of income? That's right, guys. These people are the same ones that focused on creating home-based businesses, small businesses, side hustles. They turn their passions into profits. Now, if you want to learn about investments, how about starting with real estate? Maybe even the stock market. There's a lot of good stuff on there and it could be where you make your fortune. Now, of course, it's not an overnight process and there are risks involved. But if you'd like to learn more about these topics, feel free to drop me some comments down below. These are my personal interests and I wouldn't mind making more videos for you guys on these matters. But anyway, at this point, you should see 2 videos above my head. Go ahead and click on those videos now and check them out. Now, before I go, guys, please don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. Also, share this video with everyone you know. Don't forget to subscribe for your daily dose of the truth. I appreciate you guys and I'll see you on the next one.